First, here's Ted with the Oldsmobile Delta 88.
One of the oldest, if not the oldest models in Oldsmobile's lineup is the 88 series, which can trace its lineage back to 1949. In those days, it was called the Rocket 88 and had what General Motors called futuramic styling. Now, some 40 years later, it's the front-wheel drive Delta 88 and is the epitome of family transportation, American style. The styling, while pleasant enough to look at, doesn't exactly inspire praise. To my eyes, it's yet another boxy General Motors sedan that looks like just about every other similarly conceived model in the entire GM lineup. Distinctive? It ain't. But then, those folks who typically buy these kinds of cars aren't looking for anything too adventurous anyway, which makes the 88 just about perfect for its intended market. One thing it does have in abundance is interior elbow room. Oldsmobile have done a nice job of making this car feel bigger than it actually is, which is saying something, because with a 110-inch wheelbase, it's a generously sized automobile. All the interior controls are easy to get at, if a little on the old-fashioned side. The column-mounted shift lever, for example, is right out of the history books, although I kind of like it. Instrumentation, as usual, is pretty minimal, but you can get water temperature, oil pressure, fuel range, and so on from this dash-mounted computer. Optional, by the way. The climate control system, as you might expect, leaves something to be desired. I couldn't figure out how to get cool air without air conditioning, and I spent a lot of time fiddling with it. Can any of the domestic car makers make an understandable climate control system? It would seem not. And while I'm at it, can any of them make power door locks that do what they're supposed to? The power door locks on this car only work from the inside, which doesn't make any sense to me. And nor does this glove box located power switch for the trunk. Why can't GM simply put it down beside the driver's seat? Seems to work for the Japanese. And last, but definitely not least, this car has a mini spare tire, which, given the size of the trunk, makes even less sense. On the plus side, power is amply provided by a 3.8-liter fuel-injected V6, which develops 165 horsepower at 4,800 RPM. This is a powerful and versatile power plant with good takeoff and highway reserve power. Only one transmission is offered, a 4-speed automatic. Fuel economy is 15 liters per 100 kilometers, or 19 miles per gallon in the city, and a surprising 10 liters per 100 kilometers, or 28 miles per gallon on the highway. And prices start at $24,599 for the 88 Royale Brougham, and our test car stickered out at $25,699. Despite its rather unsophisticated personality, I like the Delta 88. It has better handling than a car with a suspension this soft has a right to, and assembly quality, always a sore point with GM products, is definitely better than it used to be. It's not the kind of car I would consider buying, but for those who prefer conservative, old-fashioned transportation, the 88 Royale is one of the better models in Oldsmobile's lineup. There's plenty to choose from in this market segment. General Motors itself has a plethora of competing models, such as the Cutlass Supreme and Cutlass Sierra. Chevy has the Lumina, Pontiac has the Bonneville, and Buick has the Regal and LeSabre. The Ford Taurus and Mercury Sable are also in this group, and so is the Chrysler Dynasty. Not exactly my cup of tea, Tony, but I liked it more than I thought I would.
I think this is a dreadful car, Ted. It has ho-hum styling. The interior is awful. I admit that it has a nice drivetrain and it's comfortable and quiet, but that's about all to me.
Well, say what's on your mind about the car, Tony.
I won't hold anything back, okay?
The past few years, I've driven several Oldsmobiles, and inevitably they've been a disappointment. The last one I drove was a Calais Quad 442. I hated the car, but this, I expected the same thing all over again, and I got a solid, well-built car that was very comfortable, nice to drive on the highway, and just a nice car, you know?
I admit that it's well-built, I admit that it's solid and comfortable and so forth, and I apologize to people who buy these cars, but to me, getting into this car tells me everything that's wrong with North American manufacturers compared to those from Europe and Japan.
Yeah, but there are many people, mainly older folks, I guess, who want a car like this. They want the old-fashioned column shifter, they want the big bench seat in the front, they want the 6-passenger capacity, they want the soft ride, they want all that stuff, and, you know...
Okay, but it's not the column shift and the soft ride, it's the horrible styling of the interior, particularly. It's a mass of shiny plastic, glittery chrome. If you put a car fan from Europe or Asia into a car like this, they'd laugh at it. It's terrible.
Well, I agree, but I'm trying to look at this from the perspective of someone who doesn't care about that. I mean, I love you.
Everybody cares about styling.
No, they don't.
Really, ultimately they do.
It's true, but I mean, one man's meat is another man's poison. Some people like that look, and some people like that kind of tacky, according to you, interior. And, you know, what are you going to do?
But it's 1973, here we come again. I mean, who wants a car that looks like it was designed in 1973? I mean, as I say, I like the drivetrain, I like the way it feels, the comfort and stuff, but after that, forget it.
I'm really surprised to find myself defending General Motors here, but nonetheless, I think if I was a conservative, probably older person, this car would be something that I would have to look at in a fairly meaningful way.
Well, I guess so. I think you're right there. I'm sure my dad would love it.
We don't agree on this one, but nonetheless, to wrap up, what don't we like about it? Well, Tony doesn't like just about anything on it, but nonetheless, he specifically doesn't like the climate control, the bland styling, and the power door locks. I, on the other hand, think that the interior space is quite good. This is quite a big car, and the engine was a nice, pleasant surprise. As far as driving dollar value goes, I have to give it 7/8 of a tank without putting too fine a point on it. I just don't like the car as much as if it was European, but nonetheless, I do like the car.
Okay.